Hello, hello. So, going to be doing a little live build here on my cargo VTOL, still setting up a little bit, and then I'll be ready to go here. So this, been working on this for a little while. I took a long break from this thing. I needed needed a step away from it to learn what it needed. It just sometimes you think about something for too long, you start to your mind goes, and so I came right back to it, and I literally fixed all its problems and in a couple hours. It was just a pain to try to get it. It was a pain to try to get it going the first time, and now it's going much better. So go ahead and finish up just what I'm working on now. So I put a crane in here. It still needs infinite electricity, stuff like that. It's flying really well. I went ahead and I worked on its. Hey, Dano, how are you? Went ahead and I worked on its stability system. Going well, Neotastic. How are you? Worked on the stability system, got that going. So let's go ahead and launch it. The thing I have yet to do is put a couple containers in this and take it up to the Arctic. So that's kind of the whole point of this thing. Is the only real effective thing for using fixed wing for cargo transport is to go from the south to the Arctic. It's the only way you're going to make any money doing it. Let's go ahead. I don't have any sort of other door yet. It just has this tail door. The side door is going to be a pain to plumb in there. So put some seating in here. A little bit of seating in here. It is quite a large sucker. To get two containers, and you need it to be pretty large here. It has the cap air jet, which I actually started trying to record some cap air and then had some issues and have to fix that. But it has the cap air jet, pretty much panels. 4 engines. Kind of need the 4 engines. I have the 2 in the front, which is a little atypical just because I need that for the to be able to do vertical takeoff effectively with a heavy load. So let's go ahead. We'll tilt the engines down. So starting to tilt the engines down there, and we'll taxi on out. So I can't really see. There's no line straight out of the hangar, so I'm just gonna go in third person to make sure I don't clip the wings because they are about a block away from hitting the door. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to kill damage for now just because I don't want to have to deal with it. And so we're going to go ahead and I need to load this sucker. So let's go ahead and we'll load up. So I'm going to try to put 2 containers in here. And I need to bring some sort of container mover with me. I don't know how that's going to work. Probably won't be able to. What I'll have to do is I'll have to transpo that to the Arctic separate, I think. And then leave it up there. I tend not to like to do that. One thing I would like the devs to do is, so I think FJ is a good base for, I think they should have pretty much 2 of these bases or 1 per continent. The problem is these 2 continents are so close together, it kind of makes the point moot, where it would be kind of cool if we had a similar base like Tajin. If Tajin had a container port where the container port was close to the airport, that would be cool because I've tried, getting into container transpo up to the Arctic, with airplanes, and it's a pain because if you try flying to the airport with the container, you end up then you can't even transport via train. You can't transport via train. You can't transport via truck. There's no road all the way to the to BVG. You have to take a train, and there's no train going to Tajin, so you have to essentially take the container off a plane, put it on a truck, then put it on a train, then train it over there, and then take it off. So it's like, what's the point? You've just lost any profitability you may have had. So it's kind of not the best system they have there. We'll leave the APU on, leave the power connect on. I have infinite electricities on anyways. Let's go ahead. So this is the loading mechanism here. So it's actually pretty simple. It works well. I'm actually probably going to upgrade Proteus to that new system. That works a little bit better. And let's just get a container mover going here. So this is the first time I've loaded this up with containers and flown it. So where's the one I want? This one. All right. So this one doesn't quite scissor lift, but it has kind of a scissoring action, which allows me to be able to load different height vehicles. Let's go ahead with this. So we'll go load 2 containers, take them up the Arctic. This is slower than the Cap Air Jet. Cap Air Jet goes like 300 knots. This has 4 engines and is slower. And part of the reason for that is I need to be able to take off vertically. So there are some, I have to do some differentials on making sure the gearing works properly for the fans because, it's not using its forward momentum to get going, which isn't all that atypical from real aircraft that have to do vertical takeoff. Is, you always have trade-offs with that. And so we're going to go ahead and we'll grab 2 for BVG. It doesn't really matter. We're in the test world here. It's infinite money. I could just grab 2. I'll just grab the 2 closest one. I'm not going to hunt for them, but works pretty well. It flies really well. I've done some flights there. I worked on stability today. Stability's pretty good. I worked on p-values and d-values on there. So let's go ahead and we'll just snatch this first container. Is the light on? The light is not on. Where's carriage? I haven't run this in a while. Lift front, lift rear, carriage out. Okay, carriage out. You gonna misbehave now? Why are you misbehaving, thing? Okay. Why? This thing has never misbehaved before. Why is it misbehaving now? There we go. Okay. It's probably my player character was interacting with it. So let's go pick up a container. I'll have to go and hit the button on that one, but not a big deal. Alright. So this would be nice to get in the career build series. It's about 100 grand. It's not that much for a plane. It doesn't have any electricity hooked up yet properly, so I need to do that. But I tend to wait on that as kind of my last steps because, if I... it has kind of a lengthy startup procedure, so for testing, I have to go through the startup procedure every time I want to do the littlest thing, so that's kind of a challenge. What are you doing? This thing is acting funky, so I wonder if something got broken on it with one of the updates. Alright, let's get there. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. Okay. Bring the carriage up. Alright, and let's carriage up all the way up. There we go. And we'll go load this up. So I kind of need to test it with the 2. It's about 2 blocks off of center of gravity, so the CG, ideally I would like these 2 containers to be... So I put a little mark on the floor, and you have this in real airplanes where you have a center of gravity mark, and that will essentially tell you where, like, if you put in, say, 2 tons, you'd want to put the center of the 2 tons right on the CG on the center of gravity, and then that way, it's not leaning forward or backward. And so I put a dot on there. It will be about 2 blocks off, but I don't think 2 blocks is going to be all that bad. So let's go ahead and jump. So this had to have a bending tail, just because of some of the issues where this is not tall enough to really get to bend in, and then because I want it to contour nicely, it has issues with the ramp. I did build a ramp. It was pretty close to working, but it's about 1 block off, and, this works. So, maybe at some point I might change my mind and do that. So we can raise front and rear, and if you look here, we go up like this. So this allows me to load to all my different aircraft. So, I kind of almost scissor lift up there, and I can change the size or the height of whatever I'm attaching to. So actually works pretty well with the rear engines folding like that. I've had no problems with stability. But let's go ahead and I'll grab a quick pic. I don't have any pic of me actually loading this. So let's get one. This is the first time I've actually loaded some containers in this thing manually like this. So actually what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use its auto-loading feature. So let's go ahead and raise the rear, drop the nose. So I could use this machine to load it. Well, actually, I do want to test out the mechanism, so I won't. But I was going to say I could load it with this, but all I need to do is get close. So let's push forward. I'm banging it into the ground here. Let's go up on the front, down in the rear. There we go. So I want to self-load it. So I want to use its internal crane to load it. So, hey, what's going on, Jason? How are you? So using the its internal crane to load it will, especially up in the Arctic. That's the other issue with the way that devs kind of design the logistics is there's no real place at though there is no place at BVG to launch a vehicle. So really, kind of my whole thought process here is each of the container ports should have, it doesn't have to be huge, but have a land vehicle spawner there, workbench, so that you can launch something to load and unload. You know, having self-loads is nice, but it also, it takes away some of the ability for us to do it in a certain way, which is often beneficial, I find. All right, let's detach that, and let's get up here. All right, let's kill that for now, and then jump, you scum. Jump, you scum. All right, no clip. All right, and we're going to go ahead, and that should be fine back there. We'll leave that where it is. So this crane goes out and down. And this is going to slide all over the place. It's on those coasters, which are never really all that great at not sliding all over town. You see how we're sliding. So I might have to put a tail stand on this. What is actually sliding? I think the plane is sliding. It's just an issue with the game. So I'll have to do something to stiffen this up at some point. I'll put probably a tail stand. Alright, so I need to get this aligned. Let me just bang on the side of this to get it aligned. Alright, let's release the parking brake. We'll bang on the side of this, get it realigned. I need to test out that crane. That's part of the mission here, is test that crane out. So let's slide the carriage back. I'm just going to hit it in the side and try to get it to push. So it will snap to those grabbers on top there of the crane. There we go. Okay. So let's back it up here, and I'll set the brakes. A pretty simple way to load this sucker. Eventually I'll put a side door on this, but it's kind of a challenge because of, the way I have the facade going on this. So let's go up on the crane. I had these buttons backwards last time. This lifted no problem earlier. Let's see. What are you doing here, guy? So arms out, gantry up. Let's see. You gonna have any problems now? You know what it is? Okay, I'm gonna not bother using the crane right now. I slowed it down. I decreased the speed of it, and that's definitely gonna cause it problems here. Let's go all the way up, see if it will. Sometimes it will snap up if it gets enough pressure on it. But I have to increase the speed of those pivots, or else they're not gonna move the weight. I had them tested, and then I decreased them, I think. So let's test it. Let's check it. Alright, so let's go ahead and we'll just detach it there, and we'll bring it in. You see how slow it moves. That's all it was. We'll use the carriage to, we'll use the loader. So the point of this thing is this will allow me to use some smaller vehicles to be able to load it, because again, you can kind of tell the devs really don't know much about logistics. Because it's like, you need the ability to have some loading mechanisms at the ports, and you need to have a little bit more access there. And that's one of the issues they have with a lot of these things, is it really limits it. And it is cool, of course, to have to come up with engineering solutions. I'm all for that. But there's an arbitrary nature to it where it makes it so that, we're having to do extra work, and it's fine if you want to do the extra work, but it's also nice to have the option not to. And so it's, for example, I want to fly this plane up there, and I want to be able to spawn using a workbench this and load and unload that. Well, then I don't need a crane. I could still put it in there, but I don't need it. And it's more efficient, more effective, more realistic. And then I have to use a VTOL plane to operate up at the Arctic. And the only real place that's worth doing planes for containers is the Arctic, so it just doesn't make much sense, kind of the way the devs have it set up. So I have to do a ton of engineering to get a VTOL going to be able to even make the Arctic worthwhile. And it's pretty much one container is pays for the fuel, and the other container will pretty much pay for the will be profit. So it's actually not that bad of a profit proposition to have one container. One container is essentially going up there for free, just covering the fuel, and the other container is going to be pure profit, which is actually pretty good compared to IRL numbers. All right, so let's go front a little bit. Okay, front. Let's get this lined up. So I have a camera in the front so I can see it. Let's go ahead and we'll back it up. And we'll just load it with this. I wanted to load it with the... Let's just bring one. There's no point in me loading two. The whole point was the crane. So in Proteus, if you remember Proteus from the last career build series, it was the 4-engine seaplane that could hold 2 containers. It had this system that would lift up the containers off the ground. And the issue with that was once you put one in, you couldn't load the other one. And so this one you can. It's actually low enough. It will slide over the top of the container, and you can put 2 in. So this system's better. Let's see. Oh, this is going to be a pain. I have grabbers on the front. I didn't bother putting on this. Let's go ahead, park brake. Let's lower the front. Let's try pushing it out. All right. So I think we just grabbed. Yep, we just grabbed. So I could slide this sucker in. I think we'll be all right here. There we go. So that's actually not too bad. We'll just run with one. There's no point. The main goal here was to test out the crane's interaction with that, and we're not gonna be able to test the crane out anyway. So we'll just push this in. So what I want to do is I want to find my center of gravity node, which is we just passed it. Is right there. Right there, and so we want to put that about center of the container. So I should put them on the wall. So right about here. I have one of my cargo vehicles that's old that I don't use much anymore does have one there. Let's go ahead and I'll push this. Actually, I don't have any brakes on this track. I've done so many versions of this recently. I might just have to do a flight. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a flight because this isn't gonna work because I didn't put any track brakes on. I've done like 5 versions of this sucker just today. So let's go ahead and we'll just recall it. We'll just take a flight up there. You guys can see the vehicle. Hey, miss Proteus? Yeah, Proteus. It'd be nice to get Proteus back in. I was playing with it earlier and made me want to use it. All right, so let's go ahead and we're just going to take a flight. So, did a bunch of work on the stability. This needs a bunch of stability just because, again, it's going to be vertical. So, you know, it's reasonably complicated. Power connect, APU. We should have done the fire test first. All right, fire test. Beacon comes on. Let's sit in the seat. Fuel valves. Start 1. APU bleed on? Yep. There, we're spinning 2. Gen 1, hydraulics 1. 2 is up. Gen 2, hydraulics 2. Okay, let's go ahead and the engines are in pairs, so it's not really 2 engines. It's, 2 of the 4. So it's essentially we work left side, right side, because they have to be tuned together. If you lost one on the left side. Whoa, 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 whoa! What's up, dude? Nobody asked that of you. I did. I pressed the throttle up. I forgot to put my engines forward. Let's do that. Engines forward, that would be better. I cranked on the thrust. That was not what I wanted to do. I'm going to hit the side here. Nope, missed it actually. All right, here we go, coming out. So it yaws via, if you look at the engines will torque. They'll twist for yaw. Let's go ahead and put the engines back full up. Let's go ahead and just slam the parking brake on. All right, and let's go ahead and put a couple notches of flaps in there. Flaps are progressive, as you can see, they'll come down. We have spoilers on there. We have aileron spoilers and flaps, and yeah, aileron spoilers and flaps on there. All right, we're all set to go, I think. So let's do nav, strobes, logo, landing taxi. Landing lights are cool. They fold out like an old MD-80s used to do that. All right, let's see. Brake can come off. AP controls any sort of gyro system. So let's go start throttling up. So we'll throttle up slowly. There we go, and we're off. So we're up, and let's go ahead and twist. We'll start turning away. And I'm going to go back into first person. I fly better from first person. So, actually probably would not want to put gear up yet. You know, you want to keep your gear down until you're kind of established. And the reason for that is if you were to crash, the gear provides a lot of shock absorption. And so you'd want that shock absorption. You would not want to be slamming it in. So I'm just tipping the engines gently forward, and now we can start powering up. And you can see we're starting to accelerate here and start tipping them a little bit more as I'm pressing the engines up. And once we get over about 100 knots here, we're just up 120. We're now able to fly normally. So gear is coming up and flaps are coming up. And flaps are up before 200 knots, and here we go. All right, good. So there we go. So we're up, I'll cycle the gear. I think we're done accelerating, so I'll cycle the gear. You guys can watch the gear. Sometimes they get hung up going down. They're reasonably complicated gear, so they sometimes like to hang on that port side. So that's the gear. As you can see, they all go down. They're going to lock here in a second. Bunch of business trying to get those to work. Here, the gear coming up. And so, if you watch my landing gear tutorial, you know, one of the reasons why I recommend you use the large pivots is it reports their position. So the doors always know where the wheels are, and that keeps them from hitting the doors. So I'm going to pull that AP off. The AP usually I have triggered the auto hover on the gyro. All that is it makes it so that it runs on, you know, kind of it's a damper essentially. Thanks, Jamin. Appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll take a quick flight up the Arctic. It won't take long here. So my hands are off the controls here. I have a regular gyro on there. It's not an active gyro like a lot of people's systems that, like, see, notice my nose falls down. That's what a real airplane will do. So what you do if your nose is falling down, you trim. So I add a little bit of trim there, and we trim it out. And then I'm going to put the autopilot on. So let's go ahead and we'll go up to 20,000. What's our heading here? 019. 019. Heading altitude hold autopilot. Let's go ahead and... So let's go we'll do a vertical landing at BVG. So that's kind of the whole point is the main thing of this is being a container hauler. I wish we'd get some more stuff in game that would make it worthwhile to do some cargo stuff. Like, I would like to see some pallets. So like some smaller pallets. I think that would be cool. That would give us the ability to do more. Some smaller airplanes, make airplanes have some viability. The game really doesn't treat airplanes very nicely. I would kind of like to see an airplane pass. One thing is everything's so friggin' close. I kind of get this. You know, this was kind of one of my... I did a big logistics write-up for Star Citizen, essentially telling the devs how, like, you know, logistically didn't make sense. You know, I've been doing logistics for like 20 years, and so the, you know, one of the things you can do is, for example, if there are enough bases and enough things to do in this area, you could stay in this area forever. You could stay in this area for a long time. And then when you want to transition to another area, you'd go up here and you'd stay up here for a little while. Then when you want to transition up here, you'd stay up here for a while. So what they could do is, you know, I wish the arid biome was down here, and I think they did it all in service of the silly railroad across the water. And if they put, you know, enough railroad, there's enough rail stuff down here to keep you happy railroad-wise. If they kept enough up here, you'd be happy up here railroad-wise. And you wouldn't need to connect these. It wouldn't feel like you needed to connect these. And so, you know, you'd be able to go long distance across here to deliver containers from here to here with a train. It would still take an hour. You know, and adding this spur here, I'm not a huge fan of that. And so I think that's why they artificially put this island so close. But, like, this is as spread out as I can get these islands with the seed I usually use. And it's like, I want these islands like 20 miles out here. Because, you know, it's like, what's the point of going to these places when they're so close? And I understand the whole boat notion is if you're using a boat, yeah, you don't want things too far away from each other. But you can kind of hang in your own small sandbox. For example, there's really cool waterways in here. There are some cool waterways in here. And so you could easily have it where if you're up in here you know, all you have to do is accept the missions around here, and you could, you know, spend some time in the boat here, and you'd have shorter rescues. If you wanted longer rescues, accept the mission down here and head down here, you know. And for airplanes, you know, if you want a short flight, you could accept the mission from here to here, but you could also accept further missions. So I kind of wish, you know, maybe in the next game they do a map editor or something. Would be kind of cool to have the ability to spread some stuff out. So let's see, we're up, I think we start with like 19,000 pounds of fuel per side. So we're burning that up pretty well there. It's actually reasonably fuel efficient. You know, I use ducted fans in there. That's why I have no smoke. So as you can see, this is actually not connected to the engine. That's why I have no smoke. So usually people ask why I don't have any smoke. You know, it's because I actually don't use the only things that's powering this are the inlet fans will power, and the main thing that's powering is the ducted fans. So that's why I have no smoke. Let's see, just got a comment. PIDs and altitude holds. Lots of videos saying to adjust P first. When do you stop adjusting P and go for I? I never adjust. I almost never put I in there. I always keep 0. With the I value, I want to keep that as low as possible, and 0 is as low as I can get it. Most of my stuff is P only, so there are multiple ways to do PIDs from what I've read. I'm certainly no expert. My PIDs work pretty well. I use PIDs all the time, but I certainly don't claim to be an expert on them. But there are, from what I've read from some engineering sites on PIDs, there are multiple ways you can do PIDs. You can do a P, which is just a P PID, which is just the P value filled out. It would be a P, 0, D, 0, I. That's actually what I do the most of the time. Most of my applications in game, I only need the P value. Then you have PI. That would be the P value and the I value. And we have almost 0 applications for that in game. There are almost no applications in game where a PI would be valuable. Then you have PD. PD is sometimes valuable. Generally, when I'm doing my PIDs, I only use the P value because I find that we don't need the other ones. There are some applications. For example, this vehicle here needs a D value. For example, to kind of explain why. So, for example, the way this works is, so you just saw me hover. I finally got that fixed up today. I'm running well. How's it going, Ryan? And so the way I did it was, so as you can see, the engines, they twist. So you have engines twists to be able to yaw me. So my lefts will twist forward, my rights will twist back. That will turn me and yaw me. And in order to roll, my port engines, my 2 on the left, they will decrease thrust, and that will cause that side to drop. And the ones on the right will increase thrust, and that will cause that side to raise, and that's how I roll. And then in order to pitch, the front 2 will increase thrust, and the rear 2 will decrease thrust. Now, in order to get that precise enough to do that, if the P value is too high, you can keep increasing the P value, and it will give you more, but it will also increase the oscillation. And so you'll start bucking. You'll notice the nose comes up, nose goes down, nose comes up, nose goes down. And you can fix that with the D value. So what I had to do was, if I went up too high, the aircraft was bucking. So the nose would come up, it would go down, and I was constantly oscillating. And if I decreased the number too much, what was happening was I wasn't able to oscillate enough. I couldn't control the vehicle enough. So what I had to do was start adding D value. So for example, I think my pitch of my roller set to a P value of 2, a D value of 100. And so what that allowed it to do was, the D value being that high is allowing me to keep a lower P value and still get allowed to increase the oscillation enough that I can keep it stable and not auto-oscillating with the P value, but still using the D value to try to make it so that I can impart a change fast enough. Let me just see where you're at there. You know, so I generally, I never put in an I value. I see 0 value in putting the I value in there. In game, there are applications IRL where it's valuable, but in game I don't ever do the I value. And certain applications I'll do the D value. For example, I probably could use some D value in some of my autopilots. And if you look right here, we're at, so I set 20,000 feet, and we're at 20,000 feet and about 50. So there's a couple ways to fix this. One, if it's consistently reading 50 above, which, see, that's the 100 tick there, that's a 50. So it's about, 20,050 feet. What's my altitude now? I'm just looking. So right here, we're going to be there in 6 minutes. So let me quickly descend us, and I'll talk about that. So let's go down to 19,000. So there's two ways to fix this autopilot. So let's go down to 19. If we get down to 19 and it stays at 1950, and we go down to 18 and it stays at 1850, we know that all that is that the altimeter we can essentially fudge the altimeter. Notice it sits there at 1950. All right, so what that will tell me is instead of putting in a D value, what I can go ahead and do is instead I can just subtract 50 from my altitude. So if I say, hey, maintain altitude at 50 feet, I'll be telling it essentially to maintain altitude at 100 feet, and it will hold it, because that's just an error correction essentially. If I didn't want to do an error correction, I could start trying to increase the D value, because my P value is not high enough to actually ever get it to reach where I want. And eventually I'm going to keep knocking that P value up, and I'm just going to get an oscillation. It's going to pitch and pitch and pitch, and it's going to wobble. And so what I want to do is I want to keep my P value low enough that it's not going to wobble, and then I'll start increasing the D value and see if that will fix it. And so that was what I do. But generally, I just generally do P. P's doing most of the work for me. And then if I really care about tweaking it all the way, there are some other things with P values where, for example, when if you watch my modular engine tutorial, I almost never use any of the other values. I do P value. And so I do the P value, and let's say I want to maintain 20 RPS as my maximum RPS setting on my engine for, say, a car. And if I keep increasing the P value, essentially eventually it's going to oscillate. So the engine's going to go rap, 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 rap. It's going to go over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Now I could start playing with the D value and try to yank that up, or my preferred method is this. Okay, I want 20 RPS, and I found a stable P value. So usually I use around like 0.18, 0.2, some engines 0.1, depends if it's if it has like a flywheel or not, because a flywheel is going to make it so that it's harder to change. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, an object in rest tends to stay at rest. So when you have a flywheel, that is a heavy object in motion. It wants to stay in motion. So what a flywheel is good for is it makes it challenging to change speed. It gives you consistency. That's why they're in trucks, for example, is you start letting out the clutch, you're starting to pull the heavy load, the engine is resisting you trying to stop it with the mass, and that keeps you from stalling. And so I need a little bit of a different P value if I have a flywheel or not. Anyway, so you can do one of two things. You can't keep increasing the P value, because eventually you're going to get up to a point where all it does is oscillate and it never reaches the RPS you want. And so what you could do is keep a low P value, start bringing up the D value. Or what I tend to do is this: keep the P value where it's stable, and then instead of asking 20 of it, because it's never going to get there, I ask 30 of it. And what you'll notice is the P value will never get to 30, but it will get to 20, which is actually the number you want. And let's say that the minimum RPS I want for idle in my car is 3 RPS. And so instead of asking for 3 RPS, I might ask for 3.5 or 4 RPS. And so it will never actually reach that low, but it will get, by putting it at 4, it will actually, I'll put it lower than I really want it, and it will never actually reach it. And so that's generally what I do, is I just kind of do that same correction thing. And that's in the same vein as like what I was saying, is if your altitude is consistently always 50 too high, you can subtract that from your altimeter, and it will make it so that it's on point every time. And you don't have to worry about getting into oscillation, because you're going to get into this big oscillation headache where your P value keeps going up too high, you oscillate, you need to drag it down, then you need to start playing with the D value, and then eventually, you get it right, and it's like, or I could subtract 50 off the altitude and fix it that way. So, like anything, there's like 10 different ways to do it, And there's some benefits here and there, but sometimes it's like, you know, and I'm somebody who really like is a stickler for making things behave properly and how I want them to be. But sometimes you say it's not worth it. I can kind of cheat it a little bit. Okay, so there's BVG 12 o'clock low. So let's go ahead. We're going to start preparing. So especially in a jet, we used to, you know, we always talked about you want to stay ahead of the aircraft. You know, put it in perspective. We're going 265 knots here. So that is what? 4 1/3 miles per minute. So we're going 4 1/3 nautical miles per minute. So first thing we want to do is start slowing down. So we'll start cranking our power back. So now this is slowing us down. So now we're eating up distance a lot slower. We're under 250 knots. The landing gear is coming down. We're going to get below 200 knots, and we'll start adding some flap here. Flaps coming in. And so what we talk about when you get behind the airplane means your brain is just not working fast enough, and you're falling behind. So my brain is ahead. I'm way out there already. I'm already thinking, what's my next 10 steps? And so that's important with aviation because you're moving so fast, you have to think ahead all the time. Engines are starting to come up. As my engines are coming up, I can start to crank the thrust down a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to deselect nav and altitude hold. And I'm going to just keep the AP on because that gives me stability. Starting to put my engines up more. And as you can see, I can crank the speed all the way down because now we're in vertical. And so I'm going to start decreasing my thrust. I don't have an indicator if these are fully up. So as you can see, if you look at that little circle on, this is Jan's PFD. So that is our trend vector. So you notice it's above us. It's telling us that our trend is going up. So I want to decrease thrust until that's below the horizon. That will tell us we're descending. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that below the horizon. I'm going to make sure these engines are all the way up. And I want to gently start a descent. So I want to get that trend vector back. I don't want to, now I'm going to let it oscillate a little bit. It's doing that because we're falling pretty fast here. If you look at our vertical speed, we're at like 4,000 feet per minute descent. Actually, we're climbing now. I missed it when I was looking down. So what we want to do is we want to bring that trend vector back. You notice we're now losing altitude. We'll see that trend vector come screaming down from the top there. Unless it's off to my side and I'm completely missing it, but we'll let that trend vector come down. So we are gently descending, as you notice. And so what I'm going to do is pitch my nose forward a little bit. That's going to start translating me forward. You notice my knots picking up, so we're kind of flying it like a helicopter. I'm going to start tapping up my thrust, just taps. So I don't have any system that will automatically control my altitude. I might add it, might make it so. Essentially what I would do is I would do a linear speed vertically, which I already have one. There's my trend vector. So see that trend coming up? I want to get that so it's right just barely on the horizon. So that's fine. You see it dancing? That's because I'm moving my pitch. So let's, instead of moving my pitch, let's go, we're going to bring the engines down a little bit. And we'll push forward using the engines instead of me pitching like a helicopter. That's going to be more stable. So see how I tilted them forward a little bit? Now we're moving forward. And that trend vector's back, so I'm just going to gently tap off thrust. I want that trend vector to come below the horizon. That's going to keep my descent going. And notice it fall just below the horizon, so I'm going to tap one tap up on the thrust, and I want to keep it there. As you see, that's giving me a nice, very gentle descent. And so I'm going to push my engines down a little bit. That's going to take us forward. And we're going forward. I'm going to let it oscillate. My hands are literally off the controls. You know, it's just the stability system's just keeping it kind of happy, essentially. So see, my trend vector is back above the horizon, so I tapped off a little thrust. Let's get it below the horizon. All right, now we're back to descending again. And how close are we? We're getting close, so I'm going to start tipping my engines back up. That's going to slow down my speed forward. And you notice the trend vector is going down, so I need to tap a couple taps up. Couple taps up, and I want to bring that trend vector up. I don't ever want to over control this. We're going to bring the engines all the way up. All right, and trend vector is coming back up. So the control system, you notice it's pitching me. It's automatically doing this with the stability system. It's just trying to essentially keep me pitched to 0. And so as I make big thrust changes, it wants to take over. So it's just doing this. All right, so you can see I'm starting to climb again. Let's start pitching forward. And we'll start getting in there. There's my trend vector, so it was off to the side because once you get to 0 point, it wants to go behind you. Notice this with Kerbal, is it will do that as you start to hit your point. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna start to thrust up and landing gears down. So I probably will put in a stability system on the vertical, so make it a little bit more like auto hover collective on a helicopter. I just need to find a place big enough to put this big donkey in there. This thing is big, so it needs to go probably over there, but let's try over here. So I'm gonna do this gently. I don't want to rush. You know, that's one thing is, especially IRL, you do not want to be rushing with big equipment. You know, you want to take your time and get it in there. So we're doing a gentle climb. That's what I want. You notice the trend vector is showing to the right, which is why we're sliding right, which is what I want. I'm just gently tapping it over with a little roll. And I've been tapping down my thrust. That's why the trend vector just dropped below the horizon. And I'm looking way ahead. I'm looking right about there. Pitching. And so I'm letting the stability system do its thing. As you notice, the wings are rocking. It's trying to constantly keep me stable. But I need enough where I can control it. So I'm just adding a little thrust there. There we go. And I overdid the thrust a little bit there. That's why we went shooting up. Let's go ahead over here. I think we're going to be too tight, as you see. We've been just barely make it in there. Let's try it. Let's try to get it in here. On this right side here. I just want to be careful. Thrust, 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 thrust. Okay, now I need to bring it down. So yeah, my thrust is... The problem is my thrust, it needs to be fast enough that I can control the speed, going all the way up to 260 knots. So what I need to do is come up with a vertical mode, which will be easy. I just do a linear speed vertical and put a set point of my up-down arrow. And that will make it so that when I'm in vertical mode, it will control it differently. And let's put the thrust all the way down so we completely land. Let's set the brake, and let's see how we look outside. So not too shabby. So could use a little bit of stability stuff there, but as you can see, this is a big old John that will now operate. We can go from BVG or up to BVG, which, you know, again, this is a logistics issue the devs kind of came up with that I wish they would kind of rethink, at least in the new game. And so kind of, you know, my main issues with this base here are this. This is in the middle of nowhere, and this is part of the seed system, and it, you know, auto, you know, moves around. And the problem is, yeah, we can bring in a train, we can bring in a boat, but it leaves it so that we have to do those things. Having a couple multi-ports would really be cool, and that's what FJ is. So, like, we look at FJ. FJ is, I would say, one of the perfect bases, why I use it for so much. It has an airport, it has a train terminal, and it has a seaport. I think one base per continent should have that. And so one base per continent had that, and I think we have a prime opportunity up here at Harrison. If Harrison had a seaport right here, and I don't think it has train, but, you know, seaport and train, if the train passed through Harrison, which is actually down here, so it's not too far, so that's actually not too bad. If we had a seaport, train port, like right here, we could then head right across, and you could bring a container and trade it from vehicles, but... you know, the main problem is, like, I have to build a VTOL to fly from FJ up to here to be able to even service this base. If I landed at Tajin, you know, I could take a land vehicle over here, so I'd have to take the containers off, load it on a truck, drive it over here, load it on a train, drive it down and back, and you know, just you can see how it takes forever. And then when I get here, there's no workbench. So how the hell am I getting it off the train? Or how the hell am I getting it off a boat? Where if all they have to do is put a workbench here, I could be like, okay, you know, I will bring my plane in, I'll dump 2 containers, I'll load my container, my ship loader, I'll bring them down here, I'll load it on a ship, take a ship for the short journey over here, which actually would be kind of fun. bring the ship in here, dock it, and then grab the ship loader from the workbench, unload. So you can see that would be fun, but I think they made it so it's like, they're definitely not logistics people, because you can tell this just doesn't logistically make any sense. Yeah, it's great, I could load, a train here, but how the hell am I getting it unloaded? And so all they would have to do is add a workbench, and we could then, load one of our vehicles to bring them in, So, yeah, so this is working pretty well. The only thing that I would say needs a little bit of tweaking is roll could still use a hair of tweaking. The main thing is collective, or what we call collective, is the up-down arrows on this. And so what I do is put in a vertical mode where I have a linear speed pointing straight up. That will tell me my vertical speed. And then I essentially say my set point is whatever I do with my up-down arrows. And so if it was set to 0, it would be, if it's set to 0, the PID would automatically control the thrust of my engines to keep altitude. And then as I press down, it's going to say, okay, I want to descend at 1 meter per second. Then I tap it up and I say, okay, I want to ascend at 1 meter per second. So this vehicle here, I've done this before. Let me bring this back, and I'll show you what used to be my. This was a long time ago. I'd love to finish this. I should go back and finish this. So this is working out pretty well. Let me go ahead and save this, and I'll show you the Sky Tim. So I named it after my brother. I told him I was going to name one something bulbous and huge after him. So let's see. Where's the Sky Tim? So this, I haven't touched this in a while. This was in one of the weekly updates on the devs put. So this was the Sky Tim. This sucker's old. So this is, a big coax with a couple counter-rotating pusher props. And so the Sky Tim was another one of my twin container loaders. And so what you would do is, and this is part of the issue we have in game. Is it in the inside? So this is part of the issue we have in game without those workbenches. Where is the door? Door. So this one, it has ramps that will hook onto the track. And so what you do is you would kneel it. And that vehicle I showed off earlier, that container loader, what you do is you would put the ramps down, which I'm not going to put them in, but you can put the ramps down. The ramps can sit in the nose of the tail, and you kneel it. And then you put the ramps down, and then what you do is you load one container, and you load the container loader. And so the container loader would sit here, the container would sit here. You'd then go up to the Arctic. You would unload your container, and you would leave the container loader at the Arctic after loading up two containers to go back. Then this goes back, and that container loader lives up there. The problem is this, is the game likes to delete the chunks as you get far enough away. So it's probably, we're down here now. So this stuff is probably actually not loaded in game, and so that saves on resources. The problem is, if I leave a vehicle up here, it's going to want to load all these chunks to be able to keep that vehicle active. And so now the game is chugging because I have one vehicle sitting up there. And the devs could easily solve this by putting a workbench here. So in my opinion, every container port should have a land workbench to be able to spawn some sort of container loading vehicle. And it's like down here at JSI is a water dock. The only way for me to unload my ships with a land vehicle and move containers around is I have to transport one down there and leave it. And I don't think that's a good design choice for the devs. I think one of the good things with this game is the ability to load your vehicle and then unload your vehicle. And so like you saw when I was loading this before is, I can load the plane and come over here. I can load in the container mover, load two containers. Then I should be able to despawn the container mover, fly up to the Arctic. That now allows this whole chunk to disappear when I get far enough away. As I come up here and land, I land here, and then there should be a workbench here, and I can come over and spawn it. Then I go unload, load, go despawn it, take off, and I leave, and this whole chunk can now disappear, and as we come down here, we land and reverse it. So that is the way that yeah, it's iffy though. I don't want them dropping them in and damaging them. So, you know, some of my vehicles I'll leave active, some of them I won't. And so the issue is, I think it would make it's smart sense for them just to put a little workbench at all these places. Put a workbench here. You know, you already have this capability. You'll notice the bases that I buy in the Career Build series, I buy North Harbor, and that's because I can spawn a loader in the train area. And so I can do ship stuff from here and load it there. Komodo, I can use the train terminal. Spy Cakes, I can load a land vehicle. So those are my favorite container ports because of that. Urine Wind up here. Urine Wind has 3 different seaport bases, so you could launch 3 ships at once, but you can't spawn any land vehicles to be able to unload your containers. So it's like just add a workbench here. Now that makes that a viable base there, so you can spawn and despawn, and it makes it more friendly for people with lower spec PCs. It also makes it so that it just works better. If you accidentally knock a container off, you can then spawn a crane and go drag it out of the water. All these type of things. I think that's would be a beneficial gameplay thing, is add a quick little land spawn there. So you can see how old this is. This is how we used to have to lock doors, put electric connector on a slider because we didn't have hard points. So this is back before then. So this at some point, I'd like to revamp this at some point. The problem is sometimes you get such old, outdated builds. It's like more time than it's worth. But this kind of has like a C5 ladder to go up and. But this is the old SkyTim. I haven't worked on this in forever. Let's see if I have some new builds I've been working on. So I did a Stormworks Basics on hull design. This is a free to use hull. You guys can use that. I'm gonna keep doing hull series, so you can just use those if you like. Started work on an amber lamps. Converted my tow truck into an amber lamps, so that's gonna be able to be used at some point in career build. Let's see what else I have going here. And many versions of the Antonov 2. I think I finally got the slats fixed. Let's see what else. Yeah, so the Antonov 2 has been kind of what I've been pouring a bunch of time in lately. Really been doing a lot with that lately. Let me see. Chat. Just check chat. Yeah, when you get, I think it's like, you can leave drones up, I think, at like 20 kilometers. Depends. So like if let's say you spawn 2 things in together, you spawn a tractor and a trailer in together, and then you drive too far away, eventually the trailer will disappear. And so that's why sometimes you need to spawn them as separate bodies. So like if you were going to do a drone and you were going to fly it far away from your ship, it's best to spawn them separately. You would spawn the ship, then spawn the drone, fly the drone, land it on the ship. Now they will stay, and you can fly as far away as you want. Let's see where are we at here. Yeah, if you're still sitting in it and it's so like Trevor's saying is, I've had this, for example, if you spawn, let's like I can't launch Triton in here, but like Triton, for example, if I spawn Triton with one of its parasite craft, the parasite craft they are designed to stay a certain distance from the ship, and if I plan on going beyond that distance, for example, some of the parasite craft on Triton were designed to go far away. And what you need to do is you need to spawn them as a separate spawn, and then they can be loaded on, and that will allow you to go. If they're part of the same spawn, they'll disappear after a certain distance. And so that's kind of the same thing with missiles. Like you can't shoot a missile, infinite distance away because you spawned it in, but if you loaded the missile separately, you can. Use not you. Let me see. So somebody's talking about my Steam ship. I started working on the Steam ship. I can't launch it here. Let me go over to here, and I can look at that. So I started working on a little Steam ship here. I was gonna make like, one thought I had when I was initially building the second home ship was to make it like an old-timey, kind of a steampunky steamship. So this was the small little steamship I started working on. This is just steam powered. This is kind of like a fun little steam exercise. What else am I working on? Pretty much mostly just the Antonov 2 recently. The Antonov 2 has been, that took a bunch of work to get it working kind of how I wanted to. I'd like to get back into the new home ship for the career build series. There's the new one. This is the new one. I need to work on this. The problem is I need enough money to be able to spawn this. Right now it is only 110,000. I'm thinking this would probably be like 300 when it's done. Maybe not so much. Like for example, this one, if I spawned this ship with this lifeboat, I can only take this lifeboat a certain distance away from the home body or it'll disappear. If I want to go further, I want to spawn the ship, spawn this separate, then drag it on top. So this hasn't been worked on in a little while. This is pretty basic. It runs, but it's basic. We can go ahead and take a look at it. I'd like to get this back in the career build series and work on this, but I need to have enough cash. And the main issue that I'm kind of worried about now is I want to start a new, I want to do a new quote-unquote save for the career build series, which will be, and the whole reason is like Clark, I fall through the world at Clark, so I need to fix that. And the new content, I need a new save for, and so I'll port in the money so we won't lose any progress, but I'm waiting for them to fix some of the issues they have with the latest update. So we have the bridge here. So this will be like crane stuff back here. We have the helm. So this is based off another Damon ship. Walk-arounds here. Anything else in the front? On the bow, I don't know. And then we can go down a level. I forget what this area is for in here. Then we go out here, and then we have the lifeboat, which is blocked in with controls. And then that's where that staircase goes there. Then we go out the bow, which mercifully I don't have any microcontrollers sitting in the bow, which is usually the case. We can come up here, like a little hidey area up here. And I think there is a staircase up there. Let's see if I can jump it. Come on, jump, 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 jump. I can't get up there like that. So I can go in this door here. So it's based off a real ship, so it functions pretty well. Go up top. Has an interesting mast on this one. Has kind of just an over section there with single. It's very asymmetrical, this ship, which is a pain to build, but it's fun. I like the mast in there, how I like it. Does the mast tilt? I don't think the mast tilts. I've tested it. I think we go under bridges anyway. Let's see what else back here. We have the handle for the crane. So this will be for taking off little... so I made that tiny little seaplane. And this would be to like load that on, load some stuff in the back. So I don't know if this is probably not the final version of the crane. This crane works pretty well as a reasonable size, but it's not as attractive as I'd like. Like I said, very asymmetrical, this ship. There's supposed to be a big double door there. It's not going to get a double door, but coming in here, this is staircase goes down from this room here down to this section. And then I don't think I built in a staircase down the bottom yet. But that's down in here. We just have, it's very basic down here, no decoration. So this is like Decoration City to get this ship done. You know, like in here is pretty much dead area and dead space in here. But, yeah, so eventually it would be nice to get back to this. So this is like, you know, the home ship last time you launch this and you'd be able to do missions from this and you leave this in the world and let this sucker just cook and cruise around. So kind of what I need to do in Career Build Series is, because of the latest update, I have like 300,000 liters of diesel and jet fuel sitting in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give myself the money for them, because instead of me taking the time and loading them on and selling them, because I don't know what the devs are going to do with fixing this latest update. So I'm going to just give myself the cash, and then I have to go back in. I have to rebuy all the islands that I already own. So I own FJ. This isn't the same save, but I own FJ. I own Beginner Base. I own Logistics. I own Draymore. Spy Cakes. I don't think I own Komodo. I think I own Sawyer North now. Sawyer South. And so I need to buy all those islands. I own JSI maybe. I can't remember. I own this over here. This base right here. So I need to buy all those bases back, and then I need to fix my money so my money is correct. and then I can start with the new oil update. So that's why I haven't gotten into the new oil content of oil spills yet, is it's just like I have to play with the world and get the world ready. Let's go ahead and find a vehicle to play with here for a sec. So Antonov 2, I've been doing a lot of work on that, getting that ready. I started doing cap air again. I recorded the video and then I forgot to hook something up with the Antonov 2 and couldn't complete what I was doing. I actually had a cool cap air. No, it was a cool career build series. So I flew the Antonov 2 up to here. We had a mission to repair a buoy. So I went up here and landed in the grass, and I went and repaired the buoy. When I got back, wind had changed and gone up to 100%. And so I took off with 100% wind, and there was actually a cool mission down maybe here. And so there's a helipad here. And so what I did was the headwind was strong enough that I could actually hover and land. But the problem was the wind is so strong, it blows you off the pad because the grip on the tires isn't enough. So I couldn't do that. Let me see. Yeah, I wish you could load it in. It doesn't take me too long. Like I could literally set up a new game like right now. Let's see if like how long it would take me. It'd be like I could set this new world up in like I've done it before in like 5 minutes. It really isn't that hard to do. It's a little bit of a pain. So for example, like new world, we'll see how quickly I can do a career. Let's see. We'll do starter base, enable add-ons off, AI pass, aircraft, AI default mission zones, missions, cargo containers, creatures, delivery zones, bollards, no elevators for me, forest fires, landmarks, main mission zones, main mission location, no natural disasters, keep the oil spills on. I want those on. Mission transpo, arid zone, natural disasters, enable sirens, keep it off. Default railroad signal, resource, trading, missions, tutorials off. Underwater mission zones, weapons DLC AI is off. Go into, I'm not putting any of my own stuff in there, so that is good to go. So we'll do it right now. It'll take me under 10 minutes. It does suck. You got to move stuff around, but you know, if you're quick at editing the XML, it really doesn't take long. I'll go through the whole process here. It'll take me, and then I'll actually be able to start from there. But the only question is the money, so we can actually go in there and I'll figure out what it'll take for money. That's not what my character looks like. That's my cap air character. As you can see, I've been working on that. Let's see. That's fine. Extra clothes, hat. Let's see, Captain Hat. I always change it every time. Let's see. Pilot clothes. There we go. All right, then we want to go ahead and we want to save this. So be new, or let's see, career build series 23 underscore spills. All right, we'll save that. And then what I want to go in is, I'll quickly find my XML for that. Desktop, where are we at here? Stormworks, saves, spills, scene, display capture. All right, so here's that. All right, so this whole header here, as you can see, so what I usually do is this. I will go back in and I will find the last career build series, which was this one. And I will open that scene. So now we have, this is the last one. So what I'll do is from player position, I'll go up and I'll copy all of this up to game data down through player position. You don't have to do player position. We'll actually skip player position this time. And we can go to true and I'll copy that. And then I'll go back to this scene. I'll go from here to right there, paste it. And that pretty much has everything on it. And so that gives me my mission difficulty. You can change that, change your mission difficulty. This gives me my current time, which I think sometimes your missions are based off your time too. Total play time, total loot found, currency, right here, currency, if I needed to boost my currency. So what I'll do here is this is my number, so 360, 416. And so what I do now is save that. Go in. And it should be able to load it. That's one nice thing. The game is actually really good at being able to do that. Mission difficulty, you start as you progress longer and longer and longer. That will make the missions more difficult. So like right now, I get missions that have like it takes me like I have to wear a fire suit. I have to go and put out like 6, 7 fires on a big ship, and I have to rescue like 12 people. Last career build series, I was getting some insane missions. So let's go ahead and then because I copied the whole header, I already have custom menu in here. All my settings are saved from before because I copied the whole thing over. And now all I have to do is go down to here. I own this base. Yeah, so mission difficulty will give you more. World seed, all that does is where the islands are. So it puts the islands in the same position. So that is bought. And then all you have to do is fly around and buy all your bases back. And then what I do is it was 368, 418. Just put the money back in. The only pain is now with the oil drilling. It'll take me a couple minutes to go drill the oil back up, but that, take me 20 minutes to drill the hole, and then I just have to repump it. So it's really not all that much of a pain to restart a new save for me. Like if they changed it again next week and they did a quote-unquote fix, it wouldn't take me long to fix everything up. So like that, I own that. I don't know if I own Komodo or not. We'll go with no for now, and I'll check later. I know we own Sawyer North. So for example, the oil drilling's the only pain for me is I have to do that. I bought this there a couple episodes ago. Where's I think the marquee's right there. So this is why creative menu is so helpful is it's like I just teleport around, buy this crap. And then where are we at here? FJ, I own FJ. Get in FJ, there's FJ. All right, what else do I own? I think that might be it. And if I own any others, I can always fix them later. It's not, it's not the end of the world if I have to do it again. So that's pretty well set up. Okay, so those are all bought. Then I'll go ahead and I'll save over that spills again, bring it up in here. I want to modify the file. And then my currency was it 368,416 saved. And we'll load that back up, and now we are back to where we were. The only thing missing is I have to re-drill the oil hole. That's it. So it is a pain to start a new world, but it's not that much of a pain. And I would say the main reason is because, if you leave all your vehicles out all the time, I could see that being a pain. But you can also use the creative menu just to call them all back in to the workbench. You lose the fuel, but, so we lost some fuel. That's all I really care about. But I kind of like having a stress. What do you mean? I'm trying to see what you mean by the vehicle folder. My vehicles are all still here. The vehicles stay with so like all my vehicles are in here still. Your vehicle folder stays the same, yeah. So it's like all my vehicles are still here. So it's like, just in, what did that take, 5-10 minutes at most to quickly start up a new save. And now we have the same money we had last time. And this is the big test. Let's teleport here. Clark before. So I see what you're saying. So the main reason why I need to start a new world was I was falling through Clark, and the devs said in the bug tracker that they're not gonna, they can't fix old saves. So when they make a change that changes the landmass, which apparently is what they did, it causes it so that your old save isn't going to work. You have to start a new save. So it's a pain, but as you can see, it took 10 minutes to start a new world. And we're back to essentially where we were. The big thing that is the only thing that's kind of a pain for me is I have to go over here and re-drill the hole, which, doesn't take all that long to re-drill a hole. It's only 300 meters down. So the hole, especially the way they did this is actually pretty easy to deal with. Let me grab my drill. Where is it? There it is. There's the drilling tower. So actually, the cool thing now, too, is, so this was my old crane. I would actually use this new part if I was going to start again. So I would use this. This is the oil rig drill clamp end. It's a snappy name. Let's actually, yeah, that would be kind of cool to modify this a little bit now. So let's go ahead and Let's see. Trying to see exactly where I'd want this. So what we could do is something like this would be kind of cool. So you take a pivot. All right, take a pivot. And I want it my yellow. So, you know, sometimes it's a pain to start new stuff, but sometimes it's fun because it's like, oh, it gives me something new to do. And let's go actually like this. Let's go like that. And then let's go. So I don't need count blocks. So we need 1, 2, 3 blocks. So 1 pipe and then a winch. Why won't you go there? It doesn't want to be in front of the tracks. Okay. Don't want to be in front of the tracks, huh, guy? Let's see. You're going to be a pain, aren't you? So it can go on the front instead. So let's go pivot. Stick it on the front here. That all the way up. That's as high as it goes, I think. Yeah, that's as high as it goes. So we're clean to put it in the front like so. So this actually would be the way I would do it now, is something more like this. So like that maybe, and then that will go under, and this will drag the pipe directly above it. And that will make it a little bit more interactive. So I'm not going to take away the other system, but we'll just add this system to it. So this will be kind of actually kind of cool to do it a little bit different. So I always love new parts. New parts are always fun because it just gives you a different way to do stuff if you want. So like we go like this. Merge that. And so now this crane will swing and we will go, let me see, oil, grab the sucker here. Cut you, drag you down. A couple more there. Cable there, merge cable anchor to there, beautiful. These merged up, those merged up, and then I need the other winch because of course I do. No, yeah, I do. I need the other winch to turn this on and off, so we need the big winch, which should be able to. Where was that one sticking out there? So I need to kind of do it this way if I want to do it. So hopefully that doesn't hit. It may hit, but we'll see. And that will allow me to turn that input on there. And that looked pretty good. Electricity goes, that's fine. This doesn't need electricity. That's shocking. This doesn't need electricity, but I guess it doesn't. Okay. So that doesn't need electricity, but we'll plug this in here anyway. Okay. I turn on, what do you mean turn on default oil? I don't know what you mean by that. What is this default oil? What are you talking about? Yeah, I'll check, see what you're talking about here in a second. Let me quickly see what he's talking about. Default oil. I don't know what he's talking about. How do I get moving on this if I did something I didn't mean to do? Let's see. So I believe I turned on the default mission locations. I turned off natural disaster. Spill missions should have been left on, and I clicked rewards. Default oil survey. Did I have it on? It doesn't matter to me. I don't do any offshore oil drilling. Is it off or on? I didn't check, but here I can check the XML. Now here's the XML. Let's see. Paths, aircraft, AI, Missions: Arctic, building cargo, creatures, zones, delivery, bollards, missions, fire missions, landmarks, mission zones, main, mission locations, transpo, resource storage, trade, underwater. So what are you saying? I'm missing the survey? It doesn't matter. I'm not going to do any offshore Yeah, I don't do offshore survey. Let me check. I can check that really quick. Good catch if that's what it does. Let me see. Yeah, good catch if that happened. Because I'd be like, what the hell is that? Let me check, see if that does that. I wasn't sure because I thought the survey might only do offshore too, but we'll check. And if it is, I can go ahead and set it up again. Yeah, I didn't see the population, but we'll see if it's there. Yeah, it looks like it's missing. Okay, good to know, good to know. Let's test something really quick. Let's try something here. Let's go. I just started a new one. It won't take long. Take me like 2 seconds, but good catch. What am I doing here? New. Career. Beginner. Enable add-ons. Off. Paths. AI aircraft missions. Cargo containers, creatures, delivery zone, bollards, elevators off, fire missions, landmarks, main mission zones, natural disasters, oil spill missions on, timers and display rewards, transpo, zones, natural disasters off, get rid of the signs for good measure, oil survey, okay, railroad signals, storage, trading missions, tutorial is off. Ooh. There we go. I probably clicked here instead of there. I have a bad habit of that. Weapons. All right, let's go through it, make sure I'm missing any paths, aircrafts. So the only things off are elevators, natural disasters, default tutorial, and weapons AI. So that looks better. Okay. 192.837, that's good. Bingo. Good catch on that. Yeah, that would have sucked to have no. I would have eventually caught it, but that's why I went right to working on the rig too. Is the one thing that was going to be a pain was drilling, and I would have got the rig fixed and been like, oh shit, no head. But yes, thanks for spotting that. That was a good spot. And let's see, we'll save this one. Save. So yeah, this will let me get into some oil spill content now too. So let's go fix that. All right, and let's see. Need to load it. Let's see, the new one there. Scene, okay, and then what's this one? This one is spills. That one is the career build series one. Copy that. Bingo. Game data. And then we'll do over here. Okay. Save that. Nice. I wonder if you, I doubt you can add that after you start your save though. I was gonna do a quick test and throw it in the stack. We could try it. Let's try it. I'll save this one really quick and we'll see. So let's go ahead and quickly look at this one. So this one here, if we look at, so this is the most recent one. If we look down here, we should have mission zones. Where's survey? It's right here, oil survey. So oil surveys between missions and railroad. Let's try it. Let's see if this fixes it. So where is it? Oil survey on that one. That one is the one. Okay, here's this. Here's the one that I screwed up. So arid and railroad. I doubt it's going to work, but let's put it in oil survey, see if it works. I doubt it because it probably is not putting in all the active parts that I need. But let's give it a run and see if it works. It's always good to test these things out. I could do that, yeah. me see where we're at here. Get down there. Nope, it looks like it did it. See the oil deposit? It wasn't showing last time. Let's see if put the head in there. Yep, that did it. So just copying in the just copying in this line, ROM data missions default oil survey. It looks like it fixed that. So some of them they worked, some of them they don't. So I don't mind re-drilling it either. One of the reasons I don't mind re-drilling it is it helps me build better stuff. Oh, there's bison. Oh my God, look at that from the update. From the update, there's bison. I'm a little bit annoyed by. I'm not annoyed by that update. You know, it's an update. I think some people pull their hair out for no reason. It's like, it was an update. Was it exactly what I wanted for an update, just adding animals when they had so many things they could have fixed on Industrial Frontier? No, but it's like, I also don't care. It's like, whatever, man. To a large extent, it is their game. You know, it's their game. You know, they get to build the game how they want it to. You know, and I kind of expect, hey, there's, I want other people to enjoy the game too, so it's like, if it's not always the thing I want, it doesn't really bother me. I kind of understand that. It's like there's plenty of things that I like that other people don't like, and it's like, not always gonna like what they do. Let's see. I put swivel clamp. Okay, swivel clamp. Out. Okay, let's see. So there's definitely better ways to be doing this now. Like, instead of a cassette, now with that new thing. So one of the reasons I was putting that winch on there, which I won't use right now, was it's going to be kind of cool. Like, theoretically, you could run a truck back and forth and now actually kind of like drag it up with a winch, which I think is a little bit cooler, and kind of have a dangle, a little bit more interactive. But this is kind of, I still like this. It's a little bit more manual kind of operating this as well, too. But it won't take long to get this re-drilled, and so it's like I can go AFK. Once this is drilled, too, I think it takes me like 20 minutes to drill a new hole. Why is that pumping? I didn't mean for that to pump. So the new thing, too, is the pump jack. The new thing, too, is I guess the oil hole spurt. Oh, into the old save file. The oil hole spurt now, so to tell you hit oil, which that's a new thing. So that's interesting. But I haven't done much on this thing. This doesn't stay on long. All this crap is like redundant now. My new pumping station is so much better for pumping, so I just drill with this. So eventually I'll redo the drill station that it's, kind of set up with a new thing, make the drill faster, and, I don't need all this other stuff over here. But it's going to be nice to get into the spills. It's not my favorite thing they did, but I think the nice part about it's going to be the engineering things that I have to build. I think that's going to be fun for me. Oh, nice. Yeah, I have a more updated version. So one thing I updated, Jason, if you have any issues with your flow rates, oh, good lordy. Yeah, so if you have any issue with your flow rates, put on filters. Filter everything to keep the air out of it. It will sometimes get airlocked, I found. So I filter everything now. This is old, this fracturing tower. Maybe eventually I'll upload my pumping station. I try not to, see, table clamp, table on, slurry pumps off, swivel clamp. I try not to, I try to get things uploaded when they're pretty finished, and so it's tough for me to get stuff finished. Okay. Now let's connect the pipes, clamp, and in. There we go. Swivel clamp, down, grab. And that's attached. There we go. So yeah, so this is nice. I've been kind of putting this off, getting the new career build series save going, but as you see, it doesn't take long at all. It's pretty quick. And that way we can start doing that. So what I think I'm going to do as far as getting ready for the new spills content, my preferred way is... Oh, it's steam powered? Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to have a little bit of steam. The kind of my preferred system is power unit, and then so kind of like power unit tractor trailer is my preferred way to run a tractor trailer. Is if you have a power unit, you can just attach to something else, and so I usually do power unit barge for my sea stuff. So likely what I'm going to do for the oil spills is I will either make a new barge or take an old barge, and I will I'll probably put some wings on it, and it will dump in dippers. So we'll do a central vacuum, and it'll do side wing vacuums just for fun, because it's kind of boring just dragging a normal barge through there. And then the tugboat will drag the barge through the oil slick and just do that. So I think that'll be kind of a cool way to do it. And then the tugboat can go do something else. You can then take the tugboat, you can drag the barge over to sell it, you know, so that's kind of a good way to do it, I think. I'm going to go take a quick break here and go back. Right, I have returned. Let's quickly go. The nice thing with FG being right there is zoom the hell over there. Let's see if the one thing I would want to test is the Ant 2 has Ant 2's slats have been driving me absolutely nuts. Did I not buy it? Oh, I didn't buy any of the bases, did I? No, I didn't buy any of the bases. That's fine. I'll slowly buy them. I'll fix my money. We did lose all our dogs. I was actually kind of glad to be done with them, as there was like 6 dogs in that. Every time I get a dog, I just throw it in here, put them in here, and so I had so many dogs. They were constantly just panting the whole time. So I'd be trying to record the beginning of a video, and all you hear is panting. I made the mistake of opening the doors. And then buy the base, it does the doors for you. Yeah, you get Steam is still the best torque. Like it's pretty insane torque values, that's the whole point of Steam, is it's, you know, huge expansion potential. So the slats on the Ant 2 have been absolutely a pain in the ass. And so these are the slats. They're automatic in the real one, so I had to make them automatic in this. And you notice, so like this is XML blocks in here to hide these pipes, so it looks like they're connected. And then I have, for stability reasons, I had to put in pistons in both sides to keep those stable. You know, so, and then I even have it tied into a slider in the tail here. Like this is all part of the slats. And so the slats have been driving me nuts. The problem is if they were hanging up funny in flight, and it would make it so that I'd have a phantom force in flight and I couldn't yaw, so. But, let's go take this out really quick. Infinite electricity is off. There we go. We'll fly over to the rig. The nice thing with this, though, is this flies so slow that it can and go land and do rescue. So this is going to be like my new ambulance is running this sucker as an ambulance. I need to add in sliding windows too. That's something I want to do. Started doing that, but they would have gone where the all the slats mechanisms go. But this is flying like spot on to the real one. I can get down to like 25 knots in this, which the real one they could get down to like 25 knots. It was insanity. It just had so much lift. You know, fabric covered biplane with flapper-ons. It was just insanity. And so if you look, you'll see the slats will automatically go in. Are they broken again? Oh my god. Yep, they're broken again. I don't understand these slats. These slats are absolutely driving me nuts. What is wrong with these slats? Slat control there. Linear speed. I plugged in the wrong linear speed, which wasn't helpful before. That's the correct linear speed. Let's see. Slats forward, slats rear. Slats forward, slats rear. Okay. Let's go. Electricity. What are you plugged into? You're plugged into there. Okay, as long as we have power, these should be powered. All right. Let me see what the hell is up with this. Make sure it's merged. Merged. Okay. Yeah, slats have been absolutely disastrous. They just drive me nuts. They keep not working. So it's like if the linear speed is greater than 31 meters per second, it should increase the increment up to 0.05. Let's go up a little bit on this. Let's go up 5 on that. To 0.5. If it's not, it should retract them. That should give me a positive value. The slats rear should be a negative value. Okay, that works. That looks good. Why the hell are they not working again for like the 9 millionth time? Electricity, power, 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 up down here to this relay. Okay, make sure the relay's plugged. It's plugged across, so that should read both sides. That is going to the right side. That's going to the left side. Okay. Okay, let me double check this. This one was broken before. What are you? Electrical? Electrical panel. This was broken. Sometimes I forget to make a save, and then it's a nightmare. Panel. Okay, that should be good. All right. See if this works now. I've been playing with those slats forever, just trying to make sure that they work properly. It's kind of making me pull my hair out a little bit. So as soon as we hit like 70 knots, the slat should retract. There they go. Okay. Slats are working now. Thankfully. Okay, I can't yaw. So slats are screwed up again. See how something's up with these, because it's making it so I can't yaw because of the slats. So slats are breaking it so I can't yaw because it's doing some phantom force that I can't overcome. Like now it's fixed. Nope, it's still broken. Yeah, so see, like I can't turn to the right because of the slats. So see, that slat there is broken. See, they're just unhooked. And now I probably can turn to the right. Nope. Ugh. So that slats are really driving me nuts. I'll have to figure them out. They're annoying. They're super duper annoying. That is driving me nuts because I keep, you know, yeah, there's a ton of stuff in there that should be keeping them stable, and they're not stable. There's one thing I could do to fix them that's kind of a pain. If I could do it without the sound, this would be the way to do them. So let's see what I can do here. And now, not in the space that I have. The issue is this is Can't do it with the space that I have. The annoying thing is going to be putting them on hardpoint connectors just because they make that noise. I hate the noise of the hardpoint connectors. I don't want to hear them. They should be working fine with this. They're getting hung up on something stupid that they shouldn't be hung up on. Let's try it like this with just one set. I need to put covers on them because I'm worried if they're hitting the covers too. These wedges. I might be hitting these. Let's get rid of this too. I'm going to try to get rid of this. I don't want this operating it anymore either. So let's go like this. I don't want that part connected anymore. So let's check the color. Yellow, yellow. And then that should all be yellow. It is. Let's just verify. So that is correct. Let me make sure there's no block there. No block there. There's no block there. There's no block there. No block there. No block there. No block there. Block, 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 block. Okay. Yep, so that's the blocks are there. So there's nothing it's colliding with there. So one thing I could do is that. Okay, that's no block there. Blocks and no block, blocks. One thing I could do is put XML here to make sure it's not hitting something here. So that should be all smooth and line up fine there. Because it could be grabbing the lip here. Let's try it like this, see if it runs. I need to put the wedges on to make sure. Let's see if it's running. But yeah, I can't yaw when it hits because of the phantom forces. Double check electricity. Electricity should be fine, but these are there, going to the side, spawn. Yeah, I could just hot bus them too, but it's quite obnoxious. I forgot to hold on this button. It shouldn't be retracting too far. It's moving 0.5, which should be 2 blocks. Or 0.5 should be 1 block because its span is 2 blocks, so 0.5 should be 1. So let's see. Flats are in. Can I? Okay, I can yaw to the right now. So that's yawing. Let's try the other way. The other thing I did was speed them up. Sometimes if they go too slow, they might hang. So like the quickest and easiest way to do it, which I'm really fighting, you see how they're not hung up now? So it could have been a bunch of things, so it's working well now, so I'll keep it like this. I need that space from the back pistons too to be able to put in the windows, because these window panels here will slide, and so I need those pistons to be able to slide the windows, the space. So let's go ahead and land next to the rig. So we'll do a little slow flight. So this is something you do when you do flight training, is slow flight. So what you do is you configure for landing, and you just want to go as slow as you can. And so that's the nice thing with the real Antonov 2 and with this one is incredible slow flight performance. It's just like insanity how slow this thing gets. And so it just had like everything. It was had everything designed into it for slow flight. It was a bi-wing, so you have biplanes. So you have 4 wings. They were fabric wings, so they're incredibly light. They had flapper-ons on every panel except one, which is what I've got simulated there. So we're down to 44 knots here. And let's see, make sure the slats aren't screwing me again. I don't think so. I think we're just stalling. So this is like when people say, they're not gliding in game. It's not, if you don't build your aircraft to glide, it's not going to glide really well. It's like I'm down to 44 knots here, and we're flying. Like, see how we're wallowy? See how, like, it's dancing around? That's realistic, because you don't have a lot of airflow, and the game at a certain speed will give you more effectiveness with your control surfaces. So we are a little wallowy, which is realistic. So it flies pretty realistic. Like, I could feel a stall like I would in real life where we're stalling right now. There's a little power. recover it normal, go to, you know, you would drop your nose IRL, but I can hold it. I'll just hold it in a stall. But like right there, we're on the edge of a stall. Like right there, we're stalling, a little bit of power. Recovered, bring the power back. Yeah, so it feels very realistic to me. So I think a lot of people overestimate their aviation knowledge and they kind of think that this isn't really how planes act because, you know, they've only ever played games. You know, like Flight Sim has pretty good, you know, of course has good, you know, simulations of stalls and everything, but most games don't bother, and so it's pretty reasonable, and it's basic. It's not, you know, as developed, of course, as something like Flight Sim, but it's pretty basic. Like I can build using my aeronautical science knowledge something that's pretty accurate to how it would be in real life. So, you know, I think people often give the game too much crap for not, you know, having aerodynamics being right. It's like we're down to 40 knots, you know, in a plane designed to have ultra lift, you know, and works pretty well for me. Let's go ahead and we'll land next to the rig and we'll check and put a pipe in it. Yep, that is a little bit maybe slats. Slats was my speed. Yeah, that was slats. We could feel them moving a little bit. That was that little kind of that jag was the slats. So we don't have much contour here, so I really can't tell how high I'm up the ground. See? We have like no contour. What did I even hit? I just hit my landing gear hard. Yeah, that was no contour, so I couldn't tell how close to the ground we were. You get that on the water, especially. Like if you try to land and there's no like waves, you won't be able to see. You won't be able to tell how far you are off the water, and you'll smash. Just bang the prop a little bit. There we go. All right, let's go put a pipe in. We're close enough from at FJ. We're close enough. This will still run. So, like every time I'm at FJ, this runs fine. Table clamp on that. I screwed it up by. I hit the new winch on there and it stalled it up. Okay, out. This thing just gets stuck sometimes. It's one of those weird hiccups that if you put your player character up here, it will fix itself. So you walk around up here, it will then decide to work. So, yep, see. So it's some game issue. Arm out. There we go. Arm in. Put out a couple Tarkov shorts today. It's been hard getting clips for Tarkov. Just nothing interesting been happening. Haven't been playing that much either. Yeah, I hit the prop. Normally, I should have been looking at my angle of attack indicator, but I was like trying to find something to like some sort of reference. Like, look out there. See, there's no reference points. Like you can't tell, you know, any reference. Like a little bit of shadow or detail will help you, but it was just too much. So I hit the prop. You know, I was still descending where I should have been in the stall. Should have stalled it in. Like I can stall in at 25 knots and just land fine. So I need to fix the landing leg. But pretty rugged landing gear on here. It oscillates up in here, and the pistons do a good job of taking the shock. So you actually hit it pretty hard. It is all set up for Stormlink. The seats are all labeled. So end of line, I don't know if end of line's still working on Stormlink or not. It's been 6 months since any commentary from end of line. Somebody made an unofficial update to it, which I started using for Cap Air, because that's going to be just probably the quickest way for me to be able to do it. Try not to hit a friggin' buffalo on the way out of here. That would have sucked. Hitting a buffalo. There we go. Hit the old beefalo. and flying this thing way too extreme for what it would really be flying. Start bringing the prop back a little bit. So I'm curious if we have any oil spills yet, because I haven't done a fresh save at all since the oil spills came out. So quite curious what they're looking like. Little town over there. Coming for a landing again. That's not gonna take too long. You got a pipe going. Yeah, so I plan on, now that we have the save done, this was something I was planning on doing, was getting this career build series save in. So now we'll be able to, I can go ahead and start doing some of that new oil content. Look at all the buffalo down there. Place lousy with buffalo. Buffalo, buffalo, buffalo. I do like the animals. It's something cool to look at. Yeah, I just wish they'd fix some of the logistic stuff on the arid biome. Like, I'm big into the industrial gameplay, and there's like so many of their logistics choices were just kind of like, what are you doing, man? Yeah. All right, so we'll try to do a better landing this time. So I'm not going to be able to see any reference points with the sand being so monochromatic, which you get into that problem IRL when you're landing on water, and if you're landing on, like, there's a certain time of night, right around twilight. It's brutal trying to land on, like, if you're landing on grass or something, you'll do the same thing. You'll bang the prop because, like, you can't see any definition. Like, we used to go skiing in low light, and it was like there was a certain time of day right at twilight that it was worse than at night. You could see better at night than you could. So there you could feel the slats come out. They hang up a little bit. I might try to XML the ends of the slats to be invisible, essentially, so there's nothing there, so no collisions. So I'm going to keep the nose up more. I need to keep the nose up. So see, I lose my vision. That's something you really lose on a tail dragger, is you can't see over the nose when the nose is up. There we go. That was better. So I kept the nose up that time. But see, like, I have no reference points, no shadows. It's hard for me to tell how high I'm off the ground here, so I don't know when to flare. So I can just kind of hold this plane in a flare, but other planes I kind of need to fly to the ground. Let's get over to the rig. About ready for another pipe. So I think we'll end up in a minute here. So it was nice to get the new cargo VTOL out. You know, I need to work on that crane a little bit. It was working earlier. The issue, I think, is just I need to increase the speed of it. The speed is making it so that it... So you notice how all the lights came back on? That's because the alternator goes 100% when I shut the engine off, so the prop doesn't spin for too long. The... you know, the VTOL, the crane was working earlier today. I think it's just that the... I decreased the speed to see how low I could get the speed, and I put the speed too low, so it's not strong enough. Doesn't have enough momentum. Yeah, that's fine. You can post a workshop link. That's fine. Yeah. Yeah, so if you guys are interested, I did the hull tutorial the other day. That hull is freely available. I just asked if you're going to upload your build to the workshop. You just say that, you know, it was the hull that I built, you know, that's the only thing. But you guys can freely use that hull, and I'll plan on coming out with some more hull videos. You know, seems like a lot of people struggle with that. I might do some fuselages for airplanes too, maybe some wings even. Probably won't go too much into wings because I tend to make my wings more complicated than most would like. And so, you know, like fuselage or just like the cockpit area. And then everybody else can build it how they like. But some of that stuff I think is nice for, you know, especially new players. They get frustrated. It's kind of nice to see a guide of how to do that sort of stuff. Is that table on? But I think, what's it require? I think I have 2 leftover pipes, so we're like 2 more pipes. So I'll probably end the stream up here in a second, and I'll end up saving it once I get this pipe connected. But yeah, so, you know, be able to do some of the new content. I've been kind of wanting to do it, but I really just was like, I don't want to build the new save. And as you can see, it didn't take me long. It's just one of those things. You know, I was mainly worried that, you know, the if they put out a hot fix and I need to start a new save, it's like, you know, I wish I'd waited a day or two, you know. But I have to figure out why this is screwy. Yeah, and it's just coming down. It gets like hung up here, and then if I walk around, you see it moves it. So just something going on with, you know, it's like a bad collision or something there. And it's hanging on it. All right, guys. So I think I'm gonna let's see, example wing. Yeah, maybe I'll make one if people are interested. Yeah, you can post it on the Discord. It's fine in Creation Showcase. Alright guys, I think I'm going to end it up there. It was fun to get a little bit done there and get moving back. So Career Build Series save is now set up, so once I get this pipe drill, we'll pretty much be back where we were. I need to buy the bases and fix up the, you know, buy all the bases I don't have, and then, you know, I don't really need to give myself that money before. That's one of the reasons why I wasn't going to screw around with trying to get the rig back was if I have too much money, it's like, what do I do next? I have all this money, and it's kind of like, you know, I like having a little bit of a money concern, and I'm up to like 360,000, so it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, I have a bunch of money, and I could go buy a base and get myself back hurting again on money, and that's kind of like where I like to be, because I think a lot of people get bored where they have so much cash, they're like, oh, what do I do next? Well, I have no bases to buy, and I can buy any ship I want, and so I'm bored. You know, so it's kind of like, I like to have a little bit more of a money concern. It's like, oh, what am I going to do this episode? Oh, I have no money. Okay, I'm going to go make some money. You know, so that's kind of a consideration for me. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.